Welcome to the Schema App coaching call. It's Martha Van Berkel, the co-founder of Schema App, and I'm delighted today to be bringing you training on doing schema markup for multi-location businesses and also on services. This was a question that specifically came from one of our users this week, and so I thought we'd go just a bit deeper to see how we could help him achieve that and also teach you how to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Through some examples. Then I'm going to share that Schema App's actually going to be at two of the big search conferences this year, State of Search in Dallas and SMX Milan. And I'll share we have a code for getting $100 off signing up with State of Search. Then I want to talk a bit about the Schema App Highlighter. This is a new product that we're bringing out that is similar to the Google Data Highlighter to help you do templates or sort of large amounts of pages. Then we'll talk about what's new with Schema App, and throughout this whole session, we'll do questions and answers. So if you do have a question, feel free to just put it in the chat, and I'll go ahead and address it after we go through our coaching corner, which is about 25 minutes into today's training. So let's jump into multi-location businesses. So the first question I often ask when we're looking at a business that has multiple locations is to designate if there's a headquarters. And what we're trying to do here is think about how we're going to link things together. So, is there a headquarters that then has sub-organizations, or is maybe one of the headquarters a local business or like an actual store that you can go into? And then once we know if there's a headquarters or not, then we want to ask, is it a local business, or is it a corporation or an organization or a brand? And these are the type of things we want you to ask sort of as you're thinking through, how you're going to designate those multi-locations and how you're going to relate them together. So speaking of relating them, once we know, so we're going to show an example of Balzac, which is a great coffee chain here in Canada, and where they have an actual headquarters where they run the business and roast the coffee, and then they have their sub-organizations or local coffee stores. And so in this case, what I wanted to talk about is how do you relate the main location to the other locations? So in the case where you have a headquarters, you want to use the properties parent organization and sub-organization to define them. So if I was doing the home page and I was talking about the headquarters and the primary location, which I'll show you as an example, for each of the sub-organizations or each of the cafes, we're going to use sub-organization property and link those together. And linking them is really important because you're then designating to the search engines that these businesses are related. Also, if there's no subpages for the location, you can actually make unique URIs to deploy all the local business using a hashtag. So in this case, all I'm trying to say is that let's say there's a page and it's just one landing page that has all the details of all the businesses on them. You can actually do local business markup and the headquarters markup all on one page. And so we'll talk a bit about that. So let's jump into Schema App and do an example just to sort of bring home what I'm talking about. So what we're going to do here is, so Balzac Coffee Roasters is who we're going to use as the example. And if you look on Balzac's homepage, you'll see that there's, these cafes listed. And they're all listed at the bottom here. And then you can see that they have their headquarters. So in this case, the 675 Tradewind Drive in Ancaster, Ontario is the headquarters. And so that's what I'm going to actually mark up to define the homepage, is describing the business and the headquarters address. And then I'm going to link the cafe locations to that headquarters. So let's go into Schema App and take a look. So what I'm going to do is actually go into the structured data editor. And it does look like Balzac here. You can't actually visit it, headquarters and roastery. So let's see, trying to decide here, is it an organization or is it a corporation? I do believe they are a corporation. And so I'm going to use corporation and then use the sub-locations as the cafe. So if we go into Schema App, we're going to go into organization. You can see all the different types of organizations here. So I'm going to pick corporation. A business corporation is how it's defined. And I'll go ahead and create that. And I'm going to call it Balzac Coffee. headquarters. And then the URI, so this is where I often it's that unique resource identifier. And so here I'm going to use balzac.com as that unique, because that's also where I want to deploy the schema markup to. Now I'm not going to go through all of the creation of it. So let's go here and we're going to edit it. But you'll see with a corporation, it is a bit different than if you were doing a local business. So there's things like the ticker signal and the designation. So the legal name, again, is the Balzac Coffee, and I think it's probably Inc. So you might find this information. You might also need to look somewhere else to make sure that you have that ticker appropriately, so that you can enter that. So we'll call it Inc. A description. And then so here you can see it also has like separated the different pieces. So contact, this is where you would go ahead and put that address for the headquarters. Put that in here. And it's in Ancaster, Ontario, in Canada. See if there's a postal code on here. I think it was under the contact us. They might have the postal code. And so you can see right now it's not that different than if you're doing a local business. But what I want to do is actually skip ahead and just look here, scroll down and look in the other properties. And I'm going to show you here, there's parent organization. So if this corporation is maybe owned by a conglomerate, you might actually also link to the organization. But here I want the sub-organizations. And so you can create the sub-organizations in two ways. You can create it here by doing a data item. And we'll do Kitchener Balzac, which is where I got my coffee this morning. And for these, again, the URI is going to be specifically the page that describes it. So if we come down here and there's the Kitchener link, this is where I want the schema markup for the local business to be deployed. And so I'm going to designate that as the URI. And then again, you can use for the drop down here, I think cafe and coffee shop is the appropriate one. So we'll click OK. And so for each of the, oh, I made a mistake there. That's not for a name. We want that in parent organization. All right, we want it in sub-organization. There it is, Kitchener Balzac. I was just making a mess there. So Kitchener Balzac. And then you could do the additional ones here for each of the locations. Alternatively, you could actually do those, add those in by coming in here and creating the local business markup. So that's, how we're going to relate the two. And again, I'm going to now show you how you relate it the other way. So let me just go ahead and save this. It's prompting me because I didn't fill out all the fields. Again, you can follow some of the guidelines of our local business. It's very similar. So now if I want to relate it the other way, so I'm going to go into Kitchener Balzac. And what I want to do now is say that the parent organization for the Kitchener location is the corporation that I previously defined. So I'm just going to search for parent organization here, and I'm just going to type in Balzac. Oh, there it is. So let's see if it's coming up here. Oh, it's not coming in there. So let's go ahead and we'll search. And it should come up. Kitchener, there it is. It's coming up under the URL. So there we go. We added that in there. And now they're related back and forth. So Kitchener knows that the parent is there and so forth. And so this markup would now be deployed specifically to this Kitchener page. And describing sort of the Kitchener location, but Google knows that they're related because I've linked them. And so some people often ask, it's like, well, should I send the markup for all the locations, let's say on the homepage? And the answer is no. What we want to do is make sure that those locations are, identified and the location, the page that has all the information is linked, but then also that it's linked directly to the organization so that Google and the other search engines knows that they're related. And again, in Schema app, you can look here kind of when it comes up, anytime you see these incoming and outgoing references, that sort. So this incoming reference is saying, this is the sub-organization of Balzac.com. So I know that those are linked. And so that's really what you want to make sure with the multi-locations, that you're linking them and how you do the markup. Now, I did want to show you one other example. So let's say you didn't have subpages and that you only had the homepage and that all the location information was directly on the homepage. So let's pretend now that, Balzac.com is, has just a really long page and all the information about the cafes are on this one page. So in this case, you still want to relate them to sub-organization, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create it a bit differently. So let's, I'll do it a different way of creating it. So we're going to come under local business, and then we want cafe. Let's look it up here. Cafe or coffee shop, perfect. I think it's under restaurant. That's why I wasn't seeing it there. So cafe or coffee shop, and I'm going to go ahead and create that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pretend, let's pick another location. The Toronto location is defined on this homepage. So what I would do in Schema app is I'd say Toronto Balzac. Now for the URI, this is where what you're going to do is you're going to take the Balzac, and it needs to be unique. So we're already using this one for the Balzac Corporation markup. Now I'm going to do hashtag Toronto. And so this makes it unique. It also tells Schema app that I want to deploy this local schema markup to the homepage, since that's the only place that the local business is listed. So then once it's created, what I'm going to do is add all those details that I talked about previously. So we're going to go ahead and edit it. And once we edit it, we're going to still build that relationship with the parent organization to make sure that that's clear, as well as add all the details. So here I would go ahead and add the details about the business. And again, for the URL, I would just use the homepage for the URL in this case. And then I'd want to come down here and go to parent organization again. And for parent organization, I'm going to go ahead and I think I have it as the, this is where I have it as the HTTP, the URL, unfortunately. There it is. I'm going to tie it to the parent organization specifically through that URL. And so that's how I would sort of, if you have, again, just one long homepage that has all the location information on it, you'd go ahead and create the local businesses, but you deploy it using this hashtag, or you would actually relate them and make them all. And I see here it puts a dissolution date by default, so I'll make a note that that's a bug that will get fixed. All right, so question. Okay, if not, then what I'll do is I'll carry on and talk a bit about services. So let's go back and have a look at services. Services you deliver. Now, the reason I have here services versus products is that Google today in their documentation provides more rich snippets and more features for products. And so if you have a company that is providing services, the first question you need to ask is, do you want to define it as a service and be more specific about it? Or do you want to define it as a product and try to get the rich snippet? Now, we believe that, being the most specific and following exactly what it is the right thing to do. But depending on how you've defined success and outcomes, you might consider marking services pages also as a product. Now, again, we're always thinking about how we link things together. And so there's not sort of an easy way to link services to the local business, except sort of from the services page itself, where you can define the provider as the corporation or the local business. And then what we recommend is that you start at the most detailed services page and add schema to those, and then link them back to the provider, use the provider. Now, you can use offer catalogs and create kind of offer catalogs of offer catalogs, but it becomes very complicated and doesn't necessarily add a ton of value. And so if you want to do offer catalogs, we do have a training specifically on lists, so I can refer you there. But what I'm going to show you is just how you sort of do a services pages and how you'd link those to the organization. And you can do this for as many services pages and as many different providers. So let's say if you have multiple locations, all providing the same service, you just use those locations to define those together. So let me show you an example of what this looks like. In this case, we're going to look at Huber Window Cleaning, which is a local window cleaning and eavesdrop cleaning business here in the Guelph-Kitchener area where we have Schema app located. And so you'll see here on their homepage, they have specifically their services listed. Again, we're going to link those to the homepage and through the locations through provider. And then under their services, you'll see that they have these very specific services that they offer. So window cleaning for residential, commercial, eavesdrop, pressure washing, high rise, etc. So what we're recommending is that you start at the most specific. So instead of going to the landing page for window cleaning, what we're going to do is go ahead and come here and talk about the residential window cleaning. So let's go into Schema app and see what that looks like. So here under we're going to go under search for services. You can see there we'll pick up service. And Martha's created lots of services in my account as demo. So here we're going to do residential window cleaning. And I'm going to specifically use the URI for the page I want to deploy the markup to. And then again, you can look at the type as, is there a more specific type? Here it's specifically a generic service. It's like a cleaning service here. You can so investment, loan credit, currency. And if you don't see some of these, it may be that you don't have all the extensions enabled. So that's sort of on my account, we have all of the different schema.org extensions. So let's go ahead and click service. I'll click OK. And then as service comes up, so when we want to kind of define the service, and for some reason Schema app is automatically editing there, which is a new behavior. So we'll get the team to have a look at that. Always love it when I'm doing training and trying to edit. Oh, it's saying I'm trying to edit the class. So let's see if I come in here. All right, let's try that again. Window cleaning. Window cleaning. And again, we'll try it with this. Oh, it's saying it's already in use now. All right, so let's try again. Let's come in here. It's not showing me it listed. Something's going strange in here. So we'll try it again for commercial window cleaning. Let's see if this works. And we'll troubleshoot that as soon as we're off our training. So let's go ahead and we're going to bring up the commercial window cleaning and put that in again as a URI we want to service and click OK. Oh, there it is there. Excellent. And we'll go ahead and edit it. So now you can see the required properties. There's not a lot of required properties in services, and the required properties come primarily from Google's recommendations on what it is. So that's why we're not seeing there. So additional type, I really like additional type because it allows you to clarify things. So here, I'd really like to do window cleaning. So let's see if Wikipedia has something around window cleaning. And that would allow us to sort of define it further. So nothing. Let's see if there's something about windows. So we could maybe add in here like around a service around windows, and then you could also do cleaning maybe as sort of two additional types. So we'll do cleaning here as well. Trying to kind of define it that purifies people, animals, and objects of dirt. That's probably the right one. Okay. You may also, like areas served, again, use the Wikipedia lookups. So here they serve Guelph, which is the name of the city that Schema app's based out of. You can add those different services in. But what we also want to do is like who the provider is, so that we can also link it back to the organization. So here you can see that there's a provider, and the provider again is this organization. So if you've mapped out the organization and maybe it's locations, so in this case we could put Balzac Kitchener and Balzac Toronto, since we've created those. And so you can just go ahead and kind of choose which ones sort of are the ones that you want to. So I have a long list here of organizations that I've created. So that's how you want to link those back to the organization that's offering them. And then again, if there's multiple locations that offer it, you can go ahead and create those. Now, the same thing goes if there's multiple services on one page. Let's say they just had a landing page for Windows, and it was both the commercial and residential on the same page. Similar to what we did on the previous example, you could do the window cleaning hashtag commercial and hashtag residential to define the two services without getting into the complexity of creating a catalog, an offer catalog. So that's all I want to show you today around services. Again, services are similar to product, but they have less features in Google, and I can show you in the Google Docs they don't define service today, even though there's really specific markup like financial service, or you saw like loan and credit, etc., that are offered. But today in the featured guides, as I'm showing you here, they detail out products but not the services, and so it'll really be up to you to determine sort of what is most appropriate based on what you're trying to achieve, as well as sort of the outcomes. All right, so let me pause now for nut URL for each local business and define hierarchy. We can list them all on one page. So John, that's correct. So again, you want to think of, the URL might not be unique because they might all be data items that reside specifically on that page. So you just need to use the URI to make them unique so that they all get deployed on the page. And again, that's the easiest way to list them. And then it also makes sure that you're all called them out. Now, what you might want to do is also use main entity of page and define sort of which entity on that page is the main one. And so that you could do that, let's say on the corporation is the main entity on that page, or you could just let them all be listed. And the hierarchy you define through the relationships. So I was actually going to just show on a whiteboard, when you're thinking of an organization, you want to maybe sometimes think like this is the headquarters. And then these, different sub-organizations. So, it could be location 1, location 2, and location 3. And then after that, you can also think about, how are the services related? And so here they could have like service 1, 2, 3, or services 1 and 2, and this one might just offer service 3. And so that's how sort of you can map out to understand sort of how things delineate and sort of come together. A lot of times, if you've done your markup and you want us to just check it to make sure it's deployed, just let us know. But think about how the actual page structure is set up in the website, because that's going to have a huge impact on sort of how you can relate them. But again, the big piece is like, what are the different things that are listed on the page, and how do you make sure you're being explicit through the relationship so that the search engines know exactly how those are related. And then the same thing goes for services. If you have multiple services, who are the providers? It could be the providers, but it could also be, who's offered them. So you can, again, link them in the two different ways. Other questions? All right, well, people ask additional questions. I'll just share one more thing. There's quite a bit going on at Schema App today. And so SMXL Milan in November. And State of Search has actually given us a coupon, and I'll email this out also to the group list, that if you use Martha VB 100, you can save $100. And so actually you can get the early registration price versus the existing one. And this is in Dallas on October 9th and 10th. And I'll be talking specifically about schema markup A to Z and how you can build strategies and do a lot of the schema markup without using Bing code, but also doing it at scale and introducing some of the new ways that we've introduced doing it at scale. In SMXL, there's going to be a couple different panels, and I'll be also doing an advanced bootcamp there in Milan, Italy. What's new? So I've often talked about our WordPress plugin. If you weren't in last week's coaching, we went through it in detail. So it's a great coaching session to watch to see how to set up and use that WordPress plugin in detail. We also have Schema app for Shopify. They've currently taken down our listing as it gets sort of reapproved. And so I'll make sure to send that out as soon as that's back listed. And then you'll start seeing new business rules and alerts, and then new coaching calls. I'll skip through some of this here. The other thing that we're working on right now is the reintroduction of semantic analytics. So we have a new automated way to add all your schema markup into analytics. And so my goal is in August to share that with everyone so that people can try setting it up and doing value-add reporting. And then the other thing that we're working on and that we currently actually have something ready to show interested parties is our schema app highlighter. So if you're familiar with Google Data Highlighter, what we've done is created a professional version of that where you can highlight anything on the page, even if it's dynamic JavaScript, and be able to set up basically product schema markup, location schema markup at scale, without actually getting into the code or without having to do any sort of manual steps to maintain that. So we're really excited about how this is going to help you not only automate doing static pages, which is what you do today in Schema app, but also do dynamic pages without sort of having to rely on IT or developers. And I do have a demo ready, so if you're interested, just reach out and I'm happy to show that to you. Our roadmap just got updated, so you'll see that sort of semantic analytics, notifications, and Adobe and the Schema app highlighter are things that we're all working on right now, as well as continuing to add automated rules and tooltips and usability. If there's something that you think that we could do to improve the usability of Schema app, we're all ears. Please don't hesitate to provide us that feedback, and we'll incorporate that in. And we're also building out the testimonials and reviews so we can, increase our, star ratings on our aggregate reviews. And so if you do have feedback or would like to share a testimonial about Schema app, we'd love to share that on our site and also link to your website. So let's go back and see what questions you have. Team. So the Schema team are a small team. So there's currently 3 full-time people who work on Schema app. So myself and my co-founder, Mark. And then also we have a senior technology person named Gary, who you'll start hopefully seeing on support. And we're actually growing the team very fast. So we should have about 5 employees come the fall. Really focused again on how do we bring in that semantic and schema markup expertise to build you the tools and help you maintain that stuff at scale. But also provide you also, some people that you can reach out to. So my next hire will be someone who will be reaching out to you to help you onboard and answer your questions. So if the videos and the training aren't sufficient, that you will have extra hands on deck to help you get the results that you're looking for from schema markup. And we're based out of Guelph, Ontario. So if you know Toronto, Ontario in Canada, we're about an hour just outside of there, in a great city and very close to what's known as Canada's technology hub in Kitchener-Waterloo. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us. Other questions from those that are attending. We now have sort of open Q&A, and you can ask me anything, whether it be about Schema app, schema markup, or maybe you're trying to put together a strategy for one of your customers. So feel free to send over a URL or let us know sort of what questions you have that you'd like us to go through in this next half hour. One question I actually have for the group is the format of the training has always been sort of asking Q&A and doing a training, and we're thinking of just opening it up and doing a training so that it's really a group of people that can talk together and so that we can have a conversation about schema markup. And we were looking sort of what would you prefer? Maybe I'll send a quick poll out and say, what would you like to see sort of these trainings evolve to? We'd love to kind of hear your feedback. Also, if is this a good time to see if we can't get more people engaged and participating in some of these sessions? Quiet group today. Any other questions you have for me? Otherwise, we'll wrap up early here. I see John and Brian, Sandy, Jeff. Brian says he's still waking up on the West Coast. So I understand. So if you have any questions, always you can always reach us at support@schemaapp.com. There's also, if you wanted to set up some time with me, you can also just go to our homepage and there's a link to my online calendar. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. We're always available to answer your questions and help you be successful there. And we love, we also love just hearing sort of what are the type of things that you're working on. So if there's certain challenges you're running into that you don't find Schema App solves today, or we're missing certain content, please just tell it to us straight. We want to hear all that feedback so that we can help you be successful. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Again, if there's topics you'd like us to cover in our next training session, just send those over and we'll include those and help you get the outcomes and the results that you're looking for from Schema Markup. Thanks and have a great day.